So this is Baruch Fleischman, your lowly lift manager here. You gotta do the lifting, you gotta start at the bottom. The bottom here is in Parshas Vayakel. Now this is not our Parsha of the week. The Parsha of the week is Parshas Shalach. But we're using the Chok because we want to pick up a little shtickle on Shabbos. Now to understand this, we're on page Reish Pei Daled in Parshas Vayakel. So we're going to come down to the bottom. Now I cannot resist the places where the Matok brings the Uri, because the Uri is so crucial to be able to understand the different flows and the patterns of the Zohar. So here the Uri comes over here and he's going to tell us something that we need to know very importantly about our lives. So basically we live in a world of fantasy. These fantasies are produced and directed by what we call the Samach Mem, or the Klipos, the three Klipos, the big three Klipos. They affect our bodies. They cause us to develop appetites that we don't need, fears that we don't need, and behaviors that we shouldn't do, which brings on more bad appetites and more accusations. This is really the main thing that the Samach Mem, the other side, wants to do, is bring us to a place of ruin. Now he's going to explain a kind of a deep, low level of how this works. And he's bringing us here over into the Eitz Chaim, into the Rav, and see how it works out, because you have to understand that the animation that's going on in our minds as we are trying to understand what Hashem is doing in this world, that animation could be animated by Kedusha, and it could also be animated, and is, because we exist in a world of a mixture, by Hirhurim Roim, by Taivas Niyuf, by all kinds of different things that are going on within us, are also affecting our imaginations and our projections and our understanding. And it works as individuals, in families, in communities. You know, all politics is local. Well, eventually it affects the whole Weltanschauung of the United States. So these are based on these powerful, powerful illusions, many of which are just purely self-serving. That's the klipa. So here he comes like this, and he says like this. Lahavin mixes a maimer habas. You want to understand a little bit this maimer we're about to see in the Zohar. Natik mashakos of a rizal. So this is an ari, at the very end of the Eitz Chaim. Eitz Chaim Sharmem Tes Perik Ches. The 50 Sharim in the Eitz Chaim, and this is number 49, 8th Perik. There is an element of the klipa which is called the klipas noga, and half of it is kadosh and half of it is bad. This klipas noga is the fourth level of klipa, but with kedusha attached to it, and it's in between the real klipa, the real hirhur raw, the real animation of our emotions to bring us to behaviors unfit. This is in between them. Now we can understand this little thing, and this is what we want to understand here. And this here we have Yakel in our parsha. Behind Noga, there's this phrase. This Noga, mean the Klipas Noga, Mefate Samach Mem Le'ita. So using the Klipas Noga, the Samach Mem, which is the ultimate root of the taivus, etc., of evil. V'hu ki isha yiras Hashem malchus, and it's like this. What are you talking about? He says that he seduces the woman, to his woman. It sounds like his woman. V'hu ki isha yiras Hashem malchus. There is a woman who has fear of God, the God-fearing woman. This is another word for malchus. Malchus is another word for shechina. She, because of the situations of our lives, that is the Shechina, has to constantly be trying to pour Kedusha into the Klipas Noga. Machmas hatov asher sham hachiosa, because of the goodness that is trapped in there, in order to bring it to life. And the basic idea is that we live in a world of taivus and needs. That we need shelter, we need food, we need to reproduce, we need all of these things. And these things are also affected They affect our body, and they affect the klipa, so the klipa can attach to it depending on how we behave. So he says this is a cycle. The cycle is that we're in a world which is 80% bad. So we fall into hirkurim roim. We have taivas that we shouldn't have, and we do things that we shouldn't do, and as a result of that, major parts of our souls are trapped in klipa. They're trapped maybe in the klipas noga, where we can enter, Kedusha can enter, that is, Malchus can enter into the klipa noga, and try to find, and try to promote, and try to feed the Kedusha that's trapped there, to grow it up, to get it back, to bring the Berurim back. Because of Parshas the Pirish Beis Lechem Yehuda, now the Beis Lechem Yehuda, Rabbi Yehuda Pataya, is one of the great rabbis of all times, and in Kabbalah, of our time, at any rate, and he has a Pirish on the Eitz Chaim. So over there he writes like this: the word kibufate, so that he seduces the Shechina. The Samach Men seduces the Shechina. That's not what it means like that. He's hainu machriach es eshes chayil. He forces the Shechina to come down into his realm. Because he has acquired neshamas kedushas because of the bad behaviors and the continuing accusations planted or directed at the souls of people. So it forces her to go down there. For in order to be able to bring sustenance, to feed the Kedusha that's still alive in people who are trapped. And this is what we pray for in looking at the Jewish people today, and how many of us are trapped in the Klipa, that we really don't know our way to find our way back to Yud K, Vav K, and understand the eternity of that connection. People are just not looking at that. So at any rate, that's what we need to do, but he says that this is what happens. As the Torah wants to come down, let's use this word, the Shechina wants to bring the Torah down into the people, into the Kedusha, into the Klipa. At the same time, the Samach Men is there, because half of it is mixed with the Samach Mem. So then what happens is he winds up getting benefit from that shefa which the Shechina is pouring down below, and that's the seduction that he was talking about. He forces her. Now this is all, not to be forgotten, a creation of the Ein Sof Baruch Hu. So this is the cycle in which we are born. Our job is to swim along and find the Kedusha, and try to stay with it, and try to learn Torah mitzvahs, and prayer. So let's go over here. And we're going to read the Matuk Midrash as well as the Zohar. It says, Tal Chazi, come and see, B'yoma shesiso kad malta zimna de erev. So when it comes to the 6th day of the week, so we come to nighttime. The nighttime is falling. Dalig the go hachu medora de esha. Kofetzes medoras ha'esh. So there is a gathering together of bonfires. Into one great fire. Shehiso klipas noga lifnim. So this is the concept of the klipas noga, which is inside between the real klipa and kedusha. Behind those salka la'ela la'allah go gvonim. So the translation is va'ola lamala, it goes up. The ikon is to enter in. Ima gvonim, what into the colors? What are the colors? Shehema shlosha klipos temeosana. So he calls them the colors. These are 3 different colors of klipa. V'rotza dekanda dehikala b'kedusha, so it wants to go in and be incorporated in the kedusha gedei lekabel shefa leparnasah. So why? Because the klipas cannot exist except if they get a certain amount of kedusha. Like they eat the dregs of kedusha is what produces klipas. They look a lot like kedusha. As mistaknim Yisrael lamata, and while this is going on, and this business of the kedusha within the klipa, he says this is going on. We started preparing for Shabbos. And Mesadrin, we organize, Umachinin as a Shabbos, and we make all the preparations for the Shabbos meal. That is, we set the table, etc. The mechina of the orchim as a shulchan is called echad as shulchanu. So everybody prepares his table. So he says, what's the big deal about the table? This helps because as you were doing, and this is a kavanah that you could have as you were setting your table and preparing all the different aspects you have to do, that what you're doing is you're bringing the klipos down. You're trying to bring them down by replacing them with Kedusha. Shelo yivalvu as simchas hamelech, so that they should just keep trying to push them away by taking care of the table in your preparations for Shabbos. This is your kavanah. It says like that, in the face of my enemy, which is the klipa, which surrounds us everywhere. We stop and we do this. I set up a table in the presence of my enemy, the klipa. Then, chad shalchuva nafik ubatish b'chach v'dora. Shalcheves achas megevurah elyoina. So a bonfire, a bundle of fire. I'm trying to find the word. A bundle of fire shoots out like a comet. Maybe that's a little strong. Achas begevurah elyonis. They come from the Gevurah Elyonis, which is in Bina. Yotzem macha bebedoras eishaki shalagnoga. It comes and it strikes the bonfire of the noga, or morida lamata. So it's a much more powerful Gevurah, but a Gevurah that's sweet. And it knocks this down. So he says, a kaven shahaka bo mizgalgelis also, so since it strikes it, it causes it to start tumbling. So it starts the tumble shall heves ad medura haki until it finds its way into its dwelling place. Which dwelling place is this? Ba'alim benukva de dahoma rabba v'istam racha b'yasvin toman. And it goes into the place which is called the nukva of the Tahoma Rabbah, of the deep depth. That is the pit, the bottom of the pit, the darkest, hottest, worst place that is imaginable. It causes this shalchuva hava that comes out of this Gevurah Elyona, strikes this klipa noga, and knocks it down into the pit from which it is attached. V'yasvas, Taman v'niknasis, v'niknas, let me see what we got, let me turn the page of them. V'niknas, benakel, benekev shalatachom agado, then it goes into the hole of the big pit. Shuhu sod bina the klipa de bria, so he just wants to bring that in. What is this pit? It's the bina, but of the other side of olam abriya, because the klipas don't exist in Kedusha, in Atzilus really, they're very weak there. And they only really can function in the lower, the zat of Atzilus, have any effect. But in Bria, that's where their home is. So he said, so b'bina the klipa de Bria, v'nit manos v'yosheves sham ad motzoi Shabbos. So it waits. It has to sit there until Shabbos comes out, when Shabbos is almost over. Now, it's a part of the halacha, or the kavanah, not the kavanah, but the kavanah from motzoi Shabbat. So he says, really, that v'zu hal shal heves, that bundle of fire, shehi koach hagavura ba mitzad hayamim shehu tzad kedusha. So here is a metaphor where we're saying that the right side is the kind of giving, is the kind of a side of kedusha. That is, and that this ball of fire is really coming from that side. The Hainu Maha'aras Hagavuros da Abba Be'ima. So he says, what does that mean? He says it's coming from a glow of Gevuros of Abba Be'ima, of both Chochma and Bina in a Yichud, Besod Shal Cheves Yak, which is the secret of the bonfire of these two names. Hanekroim Bechinas Yomim, but they're called by the name of Yomim. And so question is why should something which is a Gevurah is always on the left? So why are they called, I'm assuming what he means, that the reason why they're called Yomim is because they're coming from a fire which is very, very high up. Now we're missing a lot of details there, but let's just keep going on. Begin the hu mesitra the yamina, and since it's coming really from the side of the right, it's the crusader who is good. He is the hero. Ha'aver haku medora, it causes the removal of that bonfire, which is the klipa noga, nukva to the homarabba, and causes it to enter into that deep, dark, hot pit. And it's my word hot. He didn't say hot. But I'm assuring, since they're calling him Medura and he's got these different ideas, that's why I said that. So he said, so since it comes from the white side, it removes, it nullifies as koach haMedura, hahi, that is the Medura, it nullifies and eliminates or removes the bonfire of the klipas noga, v'machnisa the nekev shell, and puts it into the hole of the tahom hagadol, to the deep depth. Shehi habina, the klipa, the bria, which he said before, is what? That deep depth is a certain level of depth of klipa. It's the bina of the klipa, of olam abriya. V'yasef taman ad nafek Shabbos, so that it stays there until Shabbos comes. V'yoshev sham ad motzoi Shabbos, and it stays there until Shabbos is over. Then it says, Kevin the nafek Shabbos. So once Shabbos is over, though, it's strict lahu la'amad yisrael levarcho al esha. So now the Shabbos is over. So we took a fire which was produced from the Gevurahs of Abba Ve'ima. That's the way I understand it, they're Gevurahs. It's really an aspect of the right, because first of all, Abba Ve'ima are they're Abba Ve'ima Loyim, they're an extremely high place, which is like very dominated by the right. So they come out, they produce this Gevurah, which is a bundle of huge fire, and it knocks out the Klipa Noga, which we're surrounded by all the time, every single day, all through the 6 days of the week. We're constantly in the midst of this Klipa Noga. God forbid we should fall in, which is possible, pull ourselves out, all these different kinds of things. That's the process we're in. He said, V'yoshevish ad motzoi Shabbat. Now let's go to the last part, and it says like this, Kevin the nafek Shabbos, so one Shabbos leaves. It's strict lahu la'amad yisrael levarcho al esha. So therefore the Jewish people have to come and make a bracha on the fire. So we have to make a bracha on the fire. Remember what the fire has done for us. So we say that bracha. Kedei says bracha zu, in order to place this bracha, koch l'shalchuva the esha lehisgaver al medura, and we say this kedei to be able to place this bracha on the action that happened, that removed and banished the shalchuva, the klipa noga, during Shabbos. V'az nafka hachu shalchuva bebirchos of the tesata. So it comes out like this: Yotzes hashalcheves Yaakov im medura bebrachos shalatachtonim. So therefore, we're taking out that fire which represents the klipas noga with our bracha. We're bringing the bracha up. V'koich bracha zu, for the power of this brother, v'shalek al hachu sudura medura called hachu lelyu. So he writes his translation of it, v'sholeta, so as a result of the bracha that we're making, hashal cheves al hamedora, that is the flame that is coming from this bonfire, called leile mosav Shabbos, it's able to control it, sholetis, over it. V'iskafia hachu medora, and as a result of that, v'nichnos, it humbles down the fire of the klipa noga, that is the part of the samach mem. The bracha has the ability to do that. That's it. This is for Shabbos here. This is Baruch Flashman at the end of the week of Parshas Shalach.